today we'll be starting off with the concept of interfaces and all. We'll also look at constructor in the coming classes, but we'll start off with the concept of interfaces and how interfaces they are used in Selenium. So yesterday I had taught you about the basic drivers of Selenium. Firefox driver, Chrome driver, I driver. You create the objects with these. You have to download the exe file for every driver. Right. So today let me make a new project. Right, and I will name that project as day 2. Alright, and in every project you create, you will have to import the jar files for Selenium. So in the day 2 project also, I will import the jar files for Selenium. Okay, so you will have to do it. Okay, so I have imported all the jar files for Selenium in this library. Now look, the thing is, I had talked about different drivers yesterday. Now the question arises is that if you want to test your say application on different browsers, will you have to write separate piece of code for every browser? Right? No, Java jars they are present by default. This GRE system library will be present by default. Okay. So how will you work on one website with different drivers? Will I be writing a separate piece of code for every browser? Okay, the answer for that is no, and the answer comes up from the concept of interfaces in Java language. Alright, now what do you mean by interfaces, how interfaces are used in Java? Right now let us talk about that. Fine, I'll create a new interface over here. Call that interface as, say for example, interface phone. Okay, I right clicked on it and I created a new interface. Now what is an interface? Alright, interface is something which tells you what the system is supposed to do. For example, if you go to a shop to buy a book, you first look at the cover of the book. The cover of the book gives you a brief idea that what the book is about, and you get a fair idea whether this is for you or not. Okay, so the cover of the book is like the interface which tells you that what the book is offering, but how the book will be, whether it will be really good or not, you don't know, but the interface tells you that what this is about. Similarly, if you go to any website, fine, if you go to any website, say if you go to my website qtpselenium.com, okay, so this website, the landing page is an interface which tells you that what we offer Selenium on testing tools, we offer training on testing tools. So interface is something which tells you what the system is supposed to do, right? But it doesn't do it, but it gives you an idea, right? So phone is also an interface over here. It will tell you what a phone can do. For example, it can have a function public void call, then say public void recharge. Okay, so suppose these are the two functions in the interface, call and recharge. Alright, so these two functions in the interface belong to phone features. You can call using a phone, you can recharge a phone, right? But you don't have function bodies in the interface. You just have the function declarations. That's it. I am assuming you know what functions are, right? So you just declare the functions in the interface. So anybody looking at the phone interface will come to know that fine, these are the features of phone. Okay, Now suppose I make a new class over here known as iPhone. So what we do in Java is that we write public class iPhone implements phone. So this class is going to implement the phone interface. Okay, so you have to move the mouse over this error, select add unimplemented methods, and they will be added in this class. Okay, right. So when you write implements phone interface, when you write like this in Java, it becomes mandatory for the class to implement all the functions of the interface. Okay, so you have to add the unimplemented methods. Okay, right. Even if you remove one of the functions, it will give you an error. So you have to include all of them. Alright. And this @override sign is an annotation. Technically, this is known as an annotation. And this is like a marker which tells that fine, this function is coming up from the phone interface. You can remove it. It doesn't matter, but you keep it so that if somebody looks at your code, he'll come to note that this function is coming up from the phone interface. Okay, so you can print inside it iPhone calling. Okay, and over here iPhone recharge. Right. Similarly, I can have another phone class. For example, I can have a class like say Samsung. Right. Samsung implements the phone interface. So it will also have to mandatorily implement both the functions from the phone interface. Okay, you can write over here Samsung calling and Samsung recharge. Okay, you can write out here. Fine. Now once you have done this, I can create a new class out here. Okay, with the main function. Right, for example, a test phone. Now I'll create objects of the phone classes and all in this, but what I did was, I'll explain you with the diagram. I had one interface phone, okay, and I asked two classes to implement the phone interface. Okay, both the classes iPhone as well as Samsung were implementing the interface. Interface had two functions, call and recharge, and both these functions will be the part of the implementing classes as well. Right, now the question arises, what did I gain out of it? Okay, I made a simple interface, phone interface. Why did I make it? I could have never made the interface. Okay, I could have directly made Samsung.java and iPhone.java. I could have made these classes directly. What is the use of interface? Well, there are two uses. The first use is that it gives a structure to the system. We have the phone interface, which has got two functions, call and recharge. Both the functions are also part of the implementing classes. Right, the implementing classes are Samsung and iPhone. Okay, both these functions, call and recharge, are part of these classes. Right, so I told you that you could have never made the phone interface, but if you make an interface, it gives a structure to the system. If tomorrow a new phone comes up or any number of phones they come up, you will come to know, or you will be knowing, that what all functions will be there in those classes. The function names will be the same. The implementation might be different. Samsung might implement the call function in different way. iPhone might sorry iPhone might implement the call function in a different way. But the names of functions in all the classes will be the same. Just looking at the phone interface, you will come to know that fine, what are the functions in the other implementing classes. So it gives a structure to the application. Right. Now if you go to the official website of Selenium, seleniumhq.org, and if you go to the download section, right, and if you look at the Java language over here, it is written Java, and this is the download link, this is the change log link, and Java doc. Okay, right. Classes are not implemented as interfaces are implemented. Classes, they implement the interface. Okay. Now in the Java documentation, if you open the documentation, right, on the left hand side all classes are there. The ones which are in italics are interfaces, right. For example, mouse. Mouse is an interface which has basic mouse operations in it. You see these: click, context click, mouse down, mouse move, mouse up, right. And these are the two implementing classes for the mouse interface. So you can read the documentation like this. Now everybody has heard about the word WebDriver. Okay, WebDriver technically is an interface. Here it is in the documentation. Okay, it is basically an interface. And all the driver classes, my Chrome driver, iDriver, Firefox driver, Internet Explorer driver, right, event firing, remote web driver, all these driver classes, they are implementing the WebDriver interface. So all these driver classes will have the functions coming up from the WebDriver interface. And WebDriver interface, if you scroll down, these are the functions in it. They are pretty common functions. I'll talk about them. Right. So you don't have to worry that if you are using Chrome driver and if you have to click on a link, then will the command to click on a link on Chrome be different than I and different than Firefox? No. The commands will be same. Okay, all the functions will be same. Like yesterday, when we studied drivers in Selenium, we created objects of Firefox driver, Chrome driver, iDriver, and we use the get function with every driver class to go to the website. The functions in all the driver classes, the function names are same because all the driver classes, they are implementing the WebDriver interface. Okay, I hope you are able to get this point. Right. Now, out here, just 1 minute. Yeah, out here in test phone class, I can start creating objects and all. I can, look, first of all, phone is an interface. In Java, you cannot create the object of an interface. You can never create object. It's illegal because interface is incomplete. You can never create. You can create the objects of the implementing classes. I can write over here iPhone I equals to new iPhone. Okay, I can write I dot call, I dot recharge. I can call these functions. Right, when I run this, it will simply call the iPhone functions. Similarly, I can create the object of Samsung. and I can write Samsung.call Samsung.recharge, and when I run this code, it prints Samsung calling and Samsung recharge and iPhone calling and iPhone recharge. Right. I'm sorry. So basically, you can create the objects of the implementing classes. You can create the objects of the driver classes which we had over here, Firefox driver, Chrome driver, iDriver. Okay, the function names will be the same. But how will you write a code which can execute on different browsers? Okay, all the driver classes, they are implementing the WebDriver interface. Okay, suppose in day 2 I create a new class known as again drivers Selenium. Okay, there is a question being asked that do you have a print statement in phone interface? No. Phone interface is simply an interface which tells that these are going to be the functions in the interface. Okay, right, these will be my functions in the interface, and the interface will be implemented. You have to implement the interface. Alright, so the print statements are there in the implementing classes inside the functions. Okay, right. So in the driver Selenium class, right, suppose I have the main function. Now suppose the problem statement is like this. You cannot do anything in an interface, you just have to declare the functions. You cannot use main and all, you cannot do anything. Interface is abstract, it is incomplete. Okay. No, you cannot perform any other thing. Only thing is that in the interface you can only declare your functions. If I add one more function over here, I will start getting errors in the implementing classes because I'll have to add that function in the implementing class as well. So I'll remove this for time being. Right. The implementing class has to implement all the functions in the interface. Right. This is the drivers Selenium class, and this is the main function in the class. Okay. Now in the main function, what I am going to do is that I'll create the objects. Hold on. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Right. Suppose I have a variable over here, string browser equals to Mozilla. So depending on the parameter over here, later on we'll read this browser from an XLS file or any other external file, okay, or a properties file, right? But right now I'm hard coding it. Depending on the value of this browser, okay, Selenium should do the testing on that respective browser. So if I directly try to apply my mind, I can use an if statement. I can use that if browser is equal to Mozilla, right. In this case, you can create the object of Firefox driver, go to yahoo.com. Okay, else if the browser is equal to Chrome, then you can create the object of Chrome driver. Okay, right, go to Chrome, and else if the browser is equal to I, then you have to work on iDriver. Okay, so you can write something like this. But does this make sense? Fine, I can change my browser to Chrome over here, and if I run this code will open on Chrome. The functions are same. The functions in iDriver, the functions in Chrome driver, the functions in Firefox driver, all the functions will be same. But it still doesn't make any sense. Will I be writing inside this if statement complete code to test on Chrome separately, then separately on Mozilla? You're getting my point, right? So you have to find a solution for this. Though the function names are same, but the object references for Firefox it is F1, for Chrome it is CD, it is I. You have to call on that particular browser object. So if I have further code, so will I be writing further code separately for Chrome, Firefox and I? The answer is again no, and the answer comes up from the concept of interfaces only. So interfaces have got two usages. The first usage I have already explained you. That is, it gives a structure to the application. All the implementing classes, Chrome driver, iDriver, Firefox driver, all the implementing classes, they have the same set of functions in them. Okay, and out here, okay, out here, hold on. These are the classes, right? And out here, you have to write a dynamic code which can test your application very dynamically depending on the browser. Now, how to solve this? Okay, look, the thing is, if I go to test phone class, I had created the object of iPhone, I had created the object of Samsung. When I run this code, it prints iPhone calling, iPhone recharging, right? So the second usage of interface is it can give you a common handle. What do you mean by that? I'll just tell you. Look, out here, suppose iPhone class says that fine. These are the two functions coming up from the phone interface, but I also implement a function which is proprietary to me. For example, public void imaps. Okay, so this is a function which is not coming up from the interface phone, but it is the proprietary function of iPhone. So if I go to test phone class, I can write over here i.imaps. I cannot call this function with the object of Samsung. Okay, pretty obvious, right? If I run this code, so it prints iPhone maps over here, right? Now, till now I had created the object of the class over here like this: iPhone I equals to new iPhone and Samsung S equals to new Samsung. Now listen to this carefully. Sometimes people they get confused. Okay, hold on. Now I am going to create the object a little differently. I am going to write phone P equals to new iPhone. Okay, I have given the interface reference equals to the class implementing the interface. Out here I had given the class reference equals to the object of the class. Out here I am keeping the object of the class, but the reference is of the interface phone. So there is a difference between these two lines. The difference is that with P, I can call the functions in the iPhone class coming from the interface, not the proprietary ones. I can write p.call, I can write p.recharge, but I cannot write p.imaps. It won't allow you. With this, you can only call the functions in the iPhone class which are coming up from the phone interface. Okay, you cannot call the proprietary functions which are there in the class. You cannot do that. But what is the advantage of this then? Okay, you cannot do this. Then what is the advantage? Why I need to create the object like this? If I run this, this will print iPhone calling, iPhone recharging over here, right? Now the advantage is that I can make P point towards the object of Samsung later on. The same reference P, the phone reference P, I'm removing it from iPhone and I'm making it point towards Samsung. And if I again write call.recharge, it will print from Samsung. If I run this code, you see that these two lines, they are for Samsung, and these two lines, they are for iPhone. The reference remains the same. Okay. I can do like this. I can write over here phone X equals to null. X is the reference of phone interface, equals to null means that this reference is not pointing towards any object. Based on my requirement, I can make X point towards new iPhone and I can make X point towards new Samsung. Okay. Right? So out here, this is the advantage. And how is it helpful in Selenium to solve the problem? We know that all the drivers, Firefox, Chrome and they are implementing the WebDriver interface. Right? I create the object like this, Firefox driver f1 equals to new Firefox driver. Instead of that, I can write WebDriver, which is the interface, equals to new Firefox driver, which implements the interface. And based on my choice, maybe on the next line, I can make the same driver point towards new Chrome driver, because Chrome driver is also implementing the WebDriver interface or iDriver or anything. Okay. Did you understand this concept? Did you understand this? Right? Anybody with any questions in this? Right. I hope you got it, right? If anybody is having any questions, please ask me. Okay, don't be, don't shy from asking questions, right? So out here, in our program, we can make a difference over here. Okay, we had the iPhone class and the Samsung class. We created the objects. I'll repeat. In iPhone class, I added one more function, iMaps. Okay, I'm repeating everything. This iMaps function can be accessed by creating the object like this. But when we create the object like this, we create the reference of the phone interface, equate it to the object of the implementing class. We can call the functions from this interface which are implemented in this class, not the proprietary functions. The advantage is that this reference P I can move towards different implementing classes. In the next line, I have equated to Samsung. I can keep the phone reference, say X to null, and based on my choice, I can make X point towards iPhone, I can make X point towards Samsung, and call the functions of these particular classes. The reference of phone interface will remain same. So we take help of this fundamental in Java interfaces in Selenium. WebDriver is the interface. Okay, WebDriver is the interface. And all the other drivers, iDriver, Chrome driver, Firefox driver and all the other classes, they are implementing the interface. So I can create the object reference of say WebDriver, driver equals to null. I can make it null. This is equal to phone p equals to null, because phone is also an interface and WebDriver is also an interface. It is pointing towards null. That is nothing. Based on my choice, maybe I can make driver point towards new Firefox driver. Okay. Or based on my choice, I can also make it point towards new Chrome driver, because all of these are implementing classes. Okay. Right. I hope you got the point. Like iPhone and Samsung were the implementing classes for phone interface. So over here, Firefox and Chrome driver are implementing classes for WebDriver. Right. So the same thing I'm going to take advantage of over here. I'll declare my WebDriver driver equals to null globally. If the browser on which I have to do the testing is Mozilla, then I will equate driver to Firefox driver, and I don't need to write these lines. If it is Chrome, then I'll equate to Chrome driver. If it is I'll equate to iDriver. Okay, right. Driver equals to new Firefox driver equals to new Chrome driver equals to new iDriver. Okay, and then you can write in the next line driver.get, go to the URL http whichever website you want, yahoo.com and or gmail.com, right, and then you can write the driver commands to interact with the website. All the commands are going to be the same because all of them are implementing the same interface. Right, so if I run this code, this will open Chrome and take it to Gmail. Hold on. You see that? Right. And similarly, you can take Mozilla and run this code, and this will open up Mozilla. Are you hearing some background noise or music? Because there's some function going on next to my house. Right. I hope you're not hearing some background noise. If you're hearing this, let me know, or it is fine. Right. Fine. So these are the various drivers, Firefox, and all. And this is the use of interfaces. The use of interface is that it helps you write some dynamic code. Okay, that code can dynamically open the browser and help you out in testing processes. Okay, it's not a rocket science. Everything is inbuilt. All the drivers are inbuilt. All the features are inbuilt. All the commands are inbuilt. Now we know how to open a browser dynamically, how to navigate to a website. Now after you reach a website, how do you interact with the components of the site? So I'm coming over to this part over here, that how do you interact with the web page? How do you analyze the page source? What are the various attributes? Okay, we have web element interface. So all these things I'm going to discuss right now. Okay, I should write over here WebDriver interface. Okay, right. So let us start with this. Fine. Before I start with this, let's have a 5 minutes break. Right. So now let's look at how Selenium works. After you go to this website, you have to write the driver commands to identify the elements on the page. Okay. So how do you do that? Right. If I am on, say, let's take up a very simple example. A very simple example of Gmail. Right. If you go to the Gmail home page, you will get, just a minute. Yeah, you'll get a page like this. You have to interact with this page. Suppose you have to type something in this text field, you have to click on this button, you have to click on the link, read the text, what is written on the page. So how will you do these things? How will you interact with the web page? To interact with the web page in Selenium, the first thing is that you need to understand how web pages are made. Okay, look, web pages are made in the HTML language. Most of you might be knowing about this language. Okay, you can see this language in the page source of the website. Okay, like for example, I am on this page. If I right click on the page, I get the option to view the page source. Okay, if I view the page source, I get the HTML code of the page source, of the website, sorry. In HTML, there is nothing, but it's quite simple. There are tags and attributes. Okay, out here you have got tags and attributes. For example, this h1 is a tag and class is one of the attributes with h1. This a anchor is a tag. Is my voice breaking, guys? Actually, it's raining a little bit over here. Okay, fine. I'll repeat a little bit. My voice was breaking. Okay, so as I told you, if you want to work or if you want to automate a website, okay, then all the sites, they work on the page source. This is Times of India website. Okay, if you right click on this site, you'll get the option view page source, and this page source will open up. Look, Selenium always works on the page source. Page source is nothing but the HTML language. HTML language comprises of tags and attributes, nothing else. Okay, look, for example, this is a tag, div tag. This div tag has got this class attribute with it. This is an anchor tag. It represents a link actually. It's got different attributes like PG, title, href. Okay, right. So there are tags, and every tag can have either no attribute or one attribute or two attribute, and from 0 to n number of attributes can be there with the particular tag. Okay, for example, this is the div tag and there are various attributes. So we identify the elements on the web page in Selenium with the help of these tags and attributes. And the elements which are there on a web page. Okay, for example, if you go to the Gmail website, right, then everything on a web page in Selenium is known as a web element. Don't confuse this with the web element of QTP or UFT. If you know that tool, that web element is very different. Okay, in automation, in generic terms, everything on a web page is known as an object. This link is an object, a text field is an object, a button is an object. Okay, A drop down is an object. Written text on the page is object. And in Selenium, we also call objects as web elements, the elements of the page. Okay. And if you go to the official website of Selenium, okay, and if you go to the download section and you go to the Java docs, look, first of all, you don't have to refer Java docs like this. Alright, you can import Java docs in your Eclipse. It's a very easy process. Alright, you can copy this URL. Fine. And you can go to Eclipse, right click on the project, go to the properties of the project, and go to the main Selenium jar file. Okay, this is the main Selenium jar file, Selenium Java 2.53.jar. Expand it, you will see the option Java doc location. Okay, double click on it and give the location of Java docs and remove index.html from the end. Okay, click on validate and it will say location is likely valid, that is fine. Now you have imported Java documentation inside Eclipse for Selenium. If I move my mouse over say WebDriver, which is written over here, it will give you the description of the WebDriver interface. Okay, if I write driver dot, I get so many functions. If I click on any one of the functions, you will get the description. For example, the get function, it will tell you that it is loading the new web page in current browser window. So you don't need to go to the Selenium website again and again. You can import the documentation in Eclipse and you can simply hover the mouse over the classes and you'll get the description what they do. And if you click anywhere, suppose if I click on this web element over here, then this documentation will open up in Eclipse. You can switch to this frames view. You can click on this and you will have the complete documentation of Selenium. Right, it opened in Eclipse. Okay, and this is the interface web element. In Selenium, we have this interface web element. This interface represents a generic HTML component on the web page. It has got functions which can help you interact with the elements of a page. For example, functions like getText, which will give you the text of any element on the page. Get the location of the element, which is capable of giving you X and Y coordinates. Right. Click the element, clear the value of the elements. Okay, so this has got generic functions. Okay, is displayed, is enabled, which can help you interact with the elements of the page. Okay, so we will be using this web element interface to interact with the elements on the web page. Okay, how do you use that? Okay, to use this, first of all, you will have to understand how Selenium works. And I told you that Selenium will always work on the page source of the page. So you need to analyze the page source, find the element of your interest in the page source and then interact with it. To analyze the page source, okay, you don't have to, yes, you have to add this in the main jar file, the Java docs, you have to add it in the main jar file. Okay, to analyze the page source, you can actually install a tool known as Firebug. Okay, just go to Google and type Firebug Firefox. Okay, this is actually an add-on in Firefox. Make sure you open this in Firefox. This will only be used in Firefox. Okay, right, it's an add-on in Firefox only, not Chrome or IE. I'll tell you about Chrome and IE as well. You can click on the first link, go here and add it to Firefox. Okay, and click on install, and this will install Firebug. Okay, a new window will open up, and the Firebug extension isn't being used in development in any longer. Okay, they have changed it. Firefox dev tools they have done. Okay, not a problem. Okay, I think lately they have changed it. Right. So hold on. Okay, let me check it out after the class. Okay, fine. These are changes which keep on happening since past 7-8 years. Firebug was there, but it's not there. So Firebug integrates with. Hold on. Let me scroll down and just try to install an older version of Firebug. Hold on. It should be there. It won't. It won't be that. It will just disappear one fine day. It can never be happening like this. Install it. Has been installed successfully. It can never happen. It's not possible. Hold on. You just restart your Firefox after this. Just a minute. Right. You see that it's come up. It can never happen that Firebug goes away. It's a very famous tool. Okay. So this is Firebug. It's in the browser. Okay. And out here, if I go to Gmail again, say, and if you look in this Firebug, if you click on this Firebug, right, you will see hold on, you'll see a window like this coming up. In this window, right, you will see this small arrow icon. Okay, you can click on this arrow and move your mouse anywhere on the page, and it will show you the HTML code corresponding to that element. I would request you to just study about HTML for 10-15 minutes on w3schools.com. Just for 10-15 minutes, you'll come to know what kind of language it is. Okay, it's got tags, it's got attributes and all everything. So you analyze the page source in Firebug with the help of Firebug like this. Right. You can also do it in Chrome browser. Fine. In Chrome browser, suppose if I go to any website, right, and I have to analyze the page source of that website in Chrome. Is my voice breaking? I think my net is again going slow. Okay, I can't help it. Okay, this is a bank in India, and if you want to analyze, okay, I'm not moving my screen right now, I'm just talking. Right. If you want to analyze the page source on this in Chrome, we don't have Firebug. Okay, in Chrome we have got Chrome Inspector. Alright, you right click on any element on the page. For example, it is written over here HDFC Home Loans. Okay, so if I right click on this, you will get the option Inspect. It will always be there in Firefox, sorry, in Chrome, and you can click on this and a Chrome Inspector window will open up at the bottom with the element highlighted. You see that? Right? So you just have to right click on the element and you will get the option Inspect. in Chrome. In Firefox, you have to install the plugin known as Firebug. Alright, and in I have not come over to XPath Sajid right now. I'll tell you about XPaths when we move over to that. Okay, I'm just telling you about different browsers, how you can inspect the elements. And in case of I, for example, I have got I over here. Fine. You have to use the I developer tool. Okay. In case of I, if you hit F12, this tool will come up. This is known as I developer tool. You have to hit F12. This tool will be like Firebug only. It will have an arrow. You can click on the arrow, move the mouse anywhere on the web page and all, and you'll get the page source. You got my point? Right? Anybody with any questions? Pretty simple. But you don't have to do it in every browser. Preferably when we work with Selenium, we prefer to analyze the page source in one browser, Mozilla, and that's it. Look, page source will remain same across all the browsers. It is the server response. This page source will never change. Whether it is Mozilla, whether it is I, whether it is or any other browser, even Safari or Opera, the page source will always remain the same. Okay? Right? So we analyze the page on Mozilla, we build the scripts according to that, and then we can make the scripts run on other browsers as well. Like you can run it on Chrome or you can also run it on I. Okay, right. So how do you do that? Right, that is done with the help of WebDriver and Web Element interfaces. Okay, is my screen too slow right now as well? I just opened Eclipse. Right, now how to find elements? It is very simple. How to interact with the web page? The command is driver.findElement. Find element command is there inside the WebDriver interface. Okay, inside the WebDriver interface, you have the find element command. It will find the first element given the method, using the given method. So it will go and find an element on the web page. Okay, right, and it will find with the help of a class known as a by class. By class has got mechanisms to locate elements within the document, that is within the web page. Okay, mechanism means that we have got various strategies. Okay, like ID, link text, name. There are various things with which we can find the element on a web page. If an element has got an ID attribute, it's really easy to identify it. For example, on the Gmail page, I have this email ID field. This email ID field is an input field with ID email. There is an attribute over here. The attribute is ID. If an element on the web page has got an ID, it becomes really easy to identify it, ID or name, because ID or names, they are supposed to be unique. Okay, so the command which we write is like this: driver.findElement by which criteria? By dot. Look, inside by class everything is static in nature. You can directly use the name. Okay, I can write by the ID. By ID, you can give the ID of the email ID field, it is email. Okay, so this will go and find the email field on the web page, and find element function will return you the reference of web element interface. You can write web element email is this. Okay, right? Driver.findElement will return you a web element. Web element corresponding to the element on the page. So web element corresponding to the email ID field. Now what do you want to do with the email ID field? I want to type something. Okay, you can write email dot send keys hello. So when you run this code, no, it will not give you any error, but you have to have the handle right. What do you want to do with this web element? You want to type something. So send keys function in web element is used to type into the element. Okay, see, send keys function is used this method to simulate typing into the element. From the Java docs I am getting. Okay, so when you run this code, it will take you to, it will open Mozilla, it will take you to Gmail and it will type hello inside the user ID field. You see that? Right? And similarly, if I make the browser over as Chrome, the same script will run on Chrome because the IDs and all, they will not change in the page source. Okay, if I run this code, it will run on Chrome. It will go to Gmail and it will type in hello inside the email ID field. The reason is that the page source remains the same across different browsers. You can analyze the page on one browser and you can probably run the script on different browsers as well. Similarly, if I have to click on this next button on Gmail, this is the next button. I can analyze this next button with the help of Firebug. It's got an ID. Okay, it's also got a name. Name is sign in and ID is next. So if an element has got name or it's got ID, it is easy to identify it. I can write over here web element button equals to driver dot find element by the ID next. And what do you want to do with this? You want to click on it. Button dot click. Right? Fine. So it's pretty simple. You have got different locator strategies: ID, link text, CSS selector, name, partial link text, tag, XPath. We'll talk about all of these. Just be with me. Right? This is just the beginning. So when I run this, it will launch Chrome and it will try to log me in. Okay, it will click on the next button as well and it will give you an error or something. Right? Now, out here, what if 2-3 elements on the page have the same ID? It should not be there. But what happens if 2 elements on the page, they have the same ID? Look, Selenium scans the page from top left side to right side like this. It scans the page like this. Okay. Suppose there are 2 elements on the page. One is over here and one is over here. And both of them have the same ID. Then Selenium will use the first one. It will ignore the second one. If you want to use the second one, you can. There are ways available. I'll talk about that. But driver.findElement function, if you look at the documentation of this function, it says that it finds the first element. Okay, Ajay, I will talk about left clicks and all that thing. Okay, I'll talk about it. But driver.findElement, this function will find the first web element using the given method. Okay, right. So this is how find element works. Alright. Now I talked about different attributes, class, web element interface, and all these things. Okay, basic Selenium script we made. So we'll be going into depth of object identification. We will be using how to install firepath, how to calculate XPaths and all. We'll move further. Okay, and after we move further, then we will move into more depth. Okay, how to extract multiple components from a web page and all. Okay, I suppose you have to extract all the links from a web page, all the buttons. How do you do that? And if you want to extract specific links from a website, and if you want to click and check whether the links are working properly or not, how do you do that? Okay, how do you handle different drop down check boxes and all? Lot of things we'll be actually doing. Right. So